Hello, thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using Gilded Tarot Royale by Chiro Marchetti, text by Barbara Moore. Where's the website? Hopefully I got that on there right. Alright, so they're Llewellyn products. This one is, there's the website llewellyn.com, and there's some other social media links. Feel free to check that out if you're interested. Supportive Oracle Cards, Spellcasting Oracle Cards by Flavia, Barbara, and Lizbeth. Website for this one is shewhoisart.com. I think there's a couple other ones back there. Feel free to freeze frame and check out whatever you're interested in. And I use dice. I use a 22-sided dice. For the major arcana, 22 I use a 0. For the fool, because there's 21. Yeah, you know. And I have a 14-sided dice for the minor arcana and a 4-sided dice to choose the element. They came from, is it Math Art Fun? MathArtFun.com. So if you're interested in any of that, that's where they came from. Alright. That being said, if you want a reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thank you very much for watching, and now on to your read. Hello, Taurus. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. These readings are valid for whenever you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Taurus? Curious card coming forward. It's an Earth card. It's an Earth card that a lot of people fear. It's the Devil card. But the Devil card talks about boundaries and demanded payment sometimes. Demanded. Taurus can roll with that. Taurus is not afraid of boundaries. In fact, a lot of times Taurus thrives with boundaries. Even if you're not the one creating them, is kind of where I need to go with that. Something already ended. It's already over. It's been done. It's making peace with something that already ended. So I feel like it's been hard to start something new. I'm going to show you this card, but this is already happening, so like I wouldn't fear it. It's already there. If it's there, if this reading is hitting for you, it's already there. The ending already happened. It's picking up and starting something new that's not happening as easily as I'd like it to. I'm having a hard time moving into the next level, the next situation. And it's like, it's time to move forward, but for some reason I'm having a real hard time getting up and moving into that next step. I'm still tied to the past a little bit. It is time to let go and move forward, but it's hard. It's hard. Can we get a little bit more information about that? Because like, it's kind of like we need to move. Your energy, the Hierophant card on the dice. It's like half in, half out. It's like it's the 5 on its side, and I also got the 4 of Cups reversed. It's not about not liking what thing. It's not about having a like 3 things to the good and 1 thing's to the bad, or 1 thing not fitting. It's kind of like getting myself to step forward and get into this game again, because it's kind of like I thought the last one was going to work out, or I thought this last situation was going to go on forever, and it didn't. And it's kind of like it's hard for me to get started into something new, so because I feel like I'm starting back at square one. This is hard. This part, I feel like this part is the hardest part, because I'm not finding the inspiration, but it's kind of like, how do I get there? For Taurus, for this situation, I have to take that first step. And it's kind of like getting myself to do that. Getting yourself to do that might be looking at the problem and asking other people what they think. I feel like that's kind of hard because there's people that you're going to ask that I feel like there's people that I know that know things, but I feel like it's difficult because if I ask them, we live different lives, and it makes me really uncomfortable, and I'm not sure what to do next. In the sense of like, they're going to tell me how they would do it, and I'm like, I wouldn't do that. So I'm like, should I even be asking them when I wouldn't live life the way they would live? The answer is yes, because, not because you need to live life the way they need to live, the way they live life, but it's the information they have. They have, like, they know how something works. They know, like, by doing this, that happens. When you do that, this happens. When you need to get some of this, this is where you get it, and this is how you apply it here. They'll tell you what they know. Doesn't mean you have to do it the way they do it, but you need that information. You need to know how the blocks go together. They have a different way of doing it. Maybe they're very random how they do it, whatever it is, and you're like, I just can't live that way. And you don't have to, but you need to know what blocks are required and how they fit together. Once you know that, you know what's required and how they go together, you're like, you can create your own plan. Creating the plan is you. That's fine. But you need to know what components do we need and how do they add together. So taking that first step, talking with people that I feel like it's just asking certain people what they think or asking them what they know or how they do things, it does seem like that's a big hurdle to start. If we can get over that hurdle, your new beginning will start on its own. Because once you start gathering the information, once you start thinking, okay, this is the problem. I talked to this person. They got some of this, they got some of that, and they put it together this way. I talked to another person. They used different materials, but those materials seem to be very similar how they put it together. Let me ask one more person, because I want to know, like, this other third person does it totally they have a different way of looking at it. Let me see what they think, so that I can go through all these plans and be like, well, what's the long-term outcome? What do I like about the outcome? Where did they end up today with the way each of them did it? Is there a way that I can see this, that I can, take all the information I have and put it together differently, decide which material is the best, but use it in a more optimal way for what I want? It just seems to start, once you start asking the questions and you start getting the information and you ask different people, it starts coming together in a way that I feel like I wasn't expecting, and I'm like, all right, this is how I want to do it. This is where I want to go for this. The devil card does show up. I feel like you know this. The situation has boundaries, rules. There's certain things, and I feel like you're going to figure this out right off the bat. Like, maybe there's 3 different materials, and you're going to be like, well, technically you can mix material 1 and material 2, but material 3 will not mix. And if I use material 1 and material 2, material 1 has to be the base. The thing is, I like the durability of material 3. So if I choose material 3, then I gotta use just material 3. Taurus is good with those type of rules. Other people, they have issues because maybe other people are like, well, material 3, they say you can't use that with these other things, but I think you can. Taurus is more like, nope, I've seen where that's gone wrong. They say you can't, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be the one who goes through that. I need something. I'm building this for it to work, and I want the stability, and I want the assured success. I'm not playing that game. It's not for me. So if you're like, I'm going to use material 3, you're like, all right, I guess I'm just using material 3. Let me look at the processes that work best with material 3. You're going to start putting it together. You're good with rules. The devil is here saying these rules are not negotiable. If you want to succeed, you follow the rules. You can work with this. Once you start moving forward with your process, once you make that first step forward, it's ironic. You can't ask questions. It's not that you can't. You got to be careful, is what I should say. Once you started your process, other people, they play with the rules. That's not your thing. That's not a Taurus thing. In my opinion, from what I know of Taurus doesn't play with the rules. When you step into it, you've already made up your mind what you're going to do. You have your process, you have your plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's how it goes. You don't jump around. You don't, add something that wasn't supposed to be there. Once you start your process, you've made your decision on the material, you've gathered the material, you've started building it. Okay, you got to be careful. The advice here is to gather information before you actually buy your material. before you take that first step in the arena, get all the information before that. Don't be asking after. Afterwards is like, I feel like that's going to confuse the situation. So I hate that I'm saying you can't, because clearly you can. It's ill-advised to ask for information after you've already started. Like, gather all the information beforehand, build your plan, so you just have to execute your plan. Now, if you have mishaps or snags, remember what you're dealing with. I chose material 3. It only allows material 3. So, do I know anybody else who's chosen material 3 and been successful with it? More than likely you're going to say yes, because I don't think you would choose that if you didn't have somebody else to reference where they had success. So you have to limit yourself. Well, you don't have to do anything. It's best to limit your questions to the people who've succeeded with the same material you're using. Be careful of that. For some reason it gets a little confusing, and I feel like other people might be like interjecting their 2 cents. So it's not so much, I don't even know if it's so much as asking as like listening too closely to people who have success, but they have success a different way. So be careful of that. Keep that in the back, or keep that in the forefront of your mind, actually. Okay, they have success with this subject with material 1 and material 2. They don't use material 3. Always remember, like, are they doing this with the same materials I'm doing it? Are they doing this with the process? Do they have the restrictions I have? I chose material 3. I feel like you guys are going to get what I mean by this. Like, whatever it is, like, you have your way. If somebody else has success, that's great, but if they're using different materials, different process, different way of living life, yeah, it worked for them. And yeah, it'll keep working for them because of how they live life, but that's not your thing. Keep that in the forefront of your mind, the forefront. This situation is going to have its learning curve. I don't think that's going to shock you. It's going to have its learning curve. It's not fun to fail, but if you're careful about who you're asking, there won't be a total fail. You're going to hit some dead ends. You're going to have to back up, but you're not going to have to go back to start. So, if it was a board game, just say there was 1,000 spaces, just for the argument. You start off at space 1, you got to get to space 1,000, just for argument's sake. You may get to spot 45 and realize, oh, this is a dead end, this isn't working. You have to backtrack to 35, and then you have to start over again from 35, though, not from space 1, from 35. And then you go forward to 65, 67, and you're like, oh, maybe you have to go back to 65. You didn't go back, you didn't go as deep in it this time. You're like, yeah, this sounds a little weird, this doesn't seem right. I stepped a little too far forward, but I have to just go back 2 spaces, and now I'm just double checking it, space 65, okay, 75, I get up to 85, maybe you get up to 158. You're going to have another snag. You're like, all right, I have to go back to 120 now. But you know what? It's not space 1. It's not space 1. It's going to keep doing these things to you. I got all the way to 158. Now I have to go back to 120. But it's not space 1. This situation is going to do that to you. That's the devil card showing up too. But you're Taurus. When you make these turns and you make these wrong turns, and you end up in a dead end, you definitely don't forget it. You learn that lesson very strongly. Like, you got it. Like, nope, I got it because I hate it. I know what I did. I know how it happened. You might even slow up and go a little slower next time. You might get to space 200, maybe even 300. It'll happen again, but maybe you won't get that far. You're like, oh, I got 15 spaces too far. I got to back up 15 spaces, but I got the space 300. You know, you made some pretty good way before it happened again. Sooner or later, you will hit your goal. But if you look at it, like, you keep getting farther down the line before you hit a snag. Like, you got to 45 and you snagged, and then you got to like 158 and you hit a snag, and then you got to space maybe 300 and you hit a snag, and then next time you get to 611 before you hit a snag, and who knows, before you know it, you'll get there, because when you make those mistakes, you learn and you don't repeat them. Remember that. The situation is going to work out. This is going to be also one of the things with the way you did it, you will become the authority on it. Because you're going to learn some of it the hard way, which is going to make you kind of the expert in some of the pieces of it. Like, you know what I mean. People are going to be looking to you for answers. I feel like Taurus does this a lot too. I feel like what you're going to remind people is like, I used material 3. I did it my way, my process. If you follow my process to a T, I can help you get there successfully. If you use material 3 and you follow my rules to the T, I can help you get there, and I can give you pointers when you start hitting issues. I can warn you about what you're going to hit. You'll know a lot about what's going on, but you'll also have to remind people, listen, I know material 3. I'm an expert. Well, I have a lot of information on material 3. Not material 1, not material 2, material 3. So if you're doing material 1, material 2 stuff, I can tell you what I did with material 3, but it's a different material. That seems to be coming into play because later people are going to be like, you have a lot of success, Taurus. How did you do it? Well, I used material 3, and I did it my way. And I feel like I have to keep reiterating this to people. Like, I didn't use material 1 or material 2. I don't know how they work. I don't know if you can get away with what I did. What I did, it's a certain strength, it's a certain, allowance that I don't know what those materials do. So it's like comparing metal to wood to plastic. If you use metal versus you use wood, those do different things. Those have different strengths, different hindrances. Same thing with plastic. They're different than, like, if you're using whatever, say you're using wood, just for argument's sake, that works different than metal does. It transfers heat different, at the very least, and it has other things. Plastic, the same thing. You know what I mean? Things work differently. Doesn't mean any of them are bad or any of them are good. It just means they work differently. And if you used wood for your whole thing, you're like, I can tell you how I did it with wood. I didn't use plastic. I didn't use metal, so I can't tell you with those. This is going to move you forward in an unexpected way. Because I feel like whatever the situation is, you're only expecting to do it once, is what I'm getting. Whatever it is. There goes the dice. Oh, the Fool card coming in. 22, because I used 22 as the Fool. And the Ace of Swords. More information. Ace of Swords comes in a couple times. You have opportunities that are going to be arising from this. This reminds me of a Taurus I used to know. I don't know them anymore, but it's a long time ago. I want to say it was something with making cabinets. It was a long time ago. They made their own anyway. They knew what they were doing. Well, I shouldn't say that. When they started, they did not know what they were doing. I remember there was a lot of magazines and watching TV shows that went on. And they gathered their information, they gathered their tools, they were very careful about what they bought, they made sure they knew what they were doing before they started, and when they made their own cabinets, they were perfect, they were great. People wanted those cabinets, and people paid that Taurus I knew to make cabinets for them. They also made a big point about, there's only certain things I could do. Like, they could change the molding. I remember there's something about the molding. They could change the size to a point. But they would point out to people, like, if you want this over here with the glass door on it, that's not what I do. If you want this over here with whatever, like, the Lazy Susan built right in, that's not what I do. I know how to do what I learned to do. And they made a big point of that. But they also had people, people were paying them a lot to do things for them. Because you knew, if you wanted what they would offer, if the Taurus said, yes, I know how to do that, I will do that. As long as you're sure you want this, I will do this. This is how much it'll cost. This is what I'll do. I will do it for you. You knew it was going to be quality. You knew it was going to be good. So you might get offers out of this. Big offers, just so you know. Anything else? Alright, I'm going to shut this down here. Hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below. Same email. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.